Welcome to another edition of Team to Team, presented by Cigna, proud partner of your Arizona Cardinals. I'm Darren Urban, and I'm joined with Chris McPherson, who covers the Eagles for PhiladelphiaEagles.com. And Chris, we appreciate you being here with us. And it's been an interesting year for you guys. I feel like there was some pretty high expectations coming into all this, and it never quite panned out that way.
Yeah, I guess obviously you want to get to the quarterback situation, the quarterback position for the Eagles. And coming into the season, like you said, Darren, a lot of people thought that the Eagles were going to be atop the NFC East because you're bringing back the same head coach. You're bringing back the same quarterback. You've got your nucleus intact, where the other division rivals all had new coaching staffs, all had turnover. You know, how are they going to be able to adjust with this virtual offseason, no preseason, anything along those lines? And it started out well for the Eagles. You go to week one, they were in Washington, and the Eagles were up 17-0. And then all of a sudden the wheels fell off, and I think you really started to see where the problems lie with the offensive line. I mean, Darren, this Sunday when the Eagles travel to face Arizona, it's going to be the 13th different starting offensive line combination in 14 games, okay? It's just so difficult to win with that much turnover at such a crucial, important position for the offense. And Carson Wentz, he's had his struggles this season, just has not been comfortable in the pocket, has just not been able to see defenses. The Eagles coaches try to do everything to get him on track. And obviously the offensive line, the different players at wide receiver, you know, that all had an impact on Carson, but it just got to a point where, you know, the Eagles felt like they were not going to get anything more positive at this point, that they needed to get a spark, as head coach Doug Peterson said. So in Green Bay 2 weeks ago, they turned the keys over to Jalen Hurts to see what he can do. And that mobility with his legs, okay, as well as being able to make plays with his arm, but similar to what you're seeing there, Darren, with Kyler Murray, okay? This is someone who's very electric, very mobile in the pocket, was able to make a couple of key plays, gave the Eagles a little bit of juice. And then last Sunday, he gets the call for his first start going against arguably the hottest team in the league in the Saints, winners of 9 straight games, number 1 defense, top 5 in virtually every statistical category. And the Saints just could not get a beat on him because he was able to make plays with his legs and escape out of trouble. And I think the Saints were kind of caught flat-footed, and before you know it, it's 17-0. Eagles are leading at halftime, and they're able to hold on for the 3-point victory. So it's going to be interesting to see now that Jalen Hurts is the guy for a second straight week here, Darren. How did the Cardinals game plan against him? What did the Eagles do differently? Because the second half of that Saints game, the Saints were able to get some pressure, kind of take away the running attack, and were forcing Hurts to throw more with his arm.
I've seen a couple things, a couple analysts talking about not only did Jalen Hurts play pretty well, but it seemed like the rest of the team kind of raised their game around him. And I know, I mean, obviously you got to have everybody clicking. The quarterback is the most important position on the field on offense, but at the same time, like you were mentioning, Carson Wentz probably didn't have a whole lot of help, or because of injuries and all that stuff. I'm wondering, did you feel like the team kind of raised its overall play with Hurts behind center?
I think it was a wake-up call, because if the quarterback is being benched, okay, that means any of us could be benched at any point, and we all need to step up our game and rally around. Look, they like Jalen Hurts, okay? You know, even though they didn't have the typical offseason where they could bond, they see the talent and the ability, and they said they want to help this guy out. And again, he wasn't sacked at all in this game against the Saints. Saints, outstanding defense. Cameron Jordan was the NFC Defensive Player of the Month last month. So certainly they have the pass rush ability to disrupt the quarterback, and they just were not able to get to him because he had that mobility to escape from the pocket and make those plays with his legs. Doug Peterson called some design runs. They had some gadget plays thrown in there. It was just a matter of almost going back to basics there with Jalen Hurts, which really helped them out. And the fact they got off to a good start. You know, this is an Eagles team that week after week finds itself trailing by double digits in every game. It's just hard to be able to come back from that, okay, in the NFL. You've got to have good starts in this league. And for once, the Eagles were able to get to a nice double-digit lead, to be able to have some breathing room. And I think the defense was able to, beat down and get to Taysom Hill. This is a defense that has the second most sacks in the NFL right now. They have some young emerging playmakers who are playing well on the defensive side of the ball. It's just that the struggles on offense have gotten them behind so much in games this season that the defense has not really had a chance to shine. I mean, this is a defense built that if the offense can put up points, look, the defensive line can get after the quarterback. They can create the pass rush. Okay, they can, stop what teams are going to try to do in those catch-up situations, and that's throw the ball all over the yard. But when you're consistently down early in games, it's just not be able to come to fruition for the Eagles.
How do you think the Eagles kind of approach defending this team, especially with Kyler Murray? The defenses, when the Cardinals kind of went through their offensive dip a couple weeks ago for a couple games, there was a lot of mush rush and zones and that kind of stuff. The Giants played a little bit more straight up, and you saw a little bit more of what the Cardinals offense was doing earlier in the season. I'm just curious how especially with such a good defensive line that the Eagles have, how do they approach this?
I certainly think defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz is going to say, we need the front four to win. Okay, so Brandon Graham, he's been one of the top players for this Eagles defense for the last decade. He's one of those guys who is probably underappreciated throughout the NFL, but he brings it off the edge, not just in the pass game, but the run game as well. And early in the season, he was on a tear, and you could have made a case that he could have been in the all-pro conversation, but he's kind of dipped off a little bit since then. But two names I'm going to give you to watch here. One is Josh Swett, a third-year defensive end out of Florida State. Had 2 big sacks in a win on Sunday over the Saints, including a strip sack on a 4th and 2. He's someone who has the raw athletic talent. Had a knee injury that was a little bit of a question mark, and that's why he fell to the 4th round in the draft. But he's starting to put all of it together along with a pass rush plan. And Javon Hargrave. Okay, people know about Fletcher Cox, all-decade defensive tackle, one of the best of this generation. Usually you're talking about Aaron Donald and Fletcher Cox at the top of the heap and the top defensive tackles in the league. But Javon Hargrave is someone they signed in the offseason from Pittsburgh to kind of complement Cox and take some of the pressure off him. Hargrave had been playing in Pittsburgh as a nose tackle in that 3-4 scheme, but they figured with a chance to just attack and get after the quarterback, he'd be so much better. Came into the start of the season with some injuries, slowed his production, but he's been on a tear of late. And I think Schwartz is going to say, we need the front four to win, because on the back end of the defense, Darius Slay's in the concussion protocol. Rodney McLeod, the veteran safety who's been a leader on the back end of the defense, he suffered an ACL injury. He's done for this season. So there's a lot of question marks there on the second and third levels of the defense, where Jim Schwartz is going to say, front four guys, you're the engine. You've got to go win this football game. You've got to be able to contain them. You talk about the mush rush, and that's something we've seen the Eagles use throughout the years with these mobile quarterbacks, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that on display once again on Sunday.
Wrapping this up, Chris, obviously every team is going to take we're just focused on this week kind of thing, but because of where the NFC East is right now, and because the Eagles were able to knock off the Saints, they're still breathing in that potential winning the division scenario as we come down the stretch. Is that something that is talked about, even though obviously the record isn't where the Eagles want it to be?
I think that there's so many veterans in the locker room that for them, Jason Kelsey, the all-pro center, I think said it best. You look at the job that Doug Pearson, the coach, is doing this season, and that the team is 3-8-1 or 4-8-1 now, but they're fighting each and every week. These guys are highly motivated. They want to come out and play. They're not concerned about draft pick position or anything along those lines. And certainly you look at some of the positions on this roster, there are some young wide receivers who Doug Pearson could say, look, if I really wanted to get the young guys a chance, I can get those guys in there. And that just hasn't been the case. Their focus on winning, and I don't think it's as much about we're still in the hunt. I think it's more of a pride and just wanting to put the best foot forward each and every week. The amount of injuries this team has gone through, I think, has provided that silver lining that a lot of young guys who might not otherwise have gotten playing time are getting it at this point. But I don't think it's because that the team of its record or because of its status. I think it's more that they're going to try to go out and win no matter what. The fact that there's still a chance to win the AFC East, which has obviously been bolstered by the win over the Saints, doesn't certainly hurt at all, Darren.
Well, Chris, I appreciate the time. It's going to be interesting to see how this matches up, if the Cardinals can continue their winning ways after finally breaking that losing streak, or if Jalen Hurts ends up being the exciting stretch run quarterback story of the NFL. So we'll see what happens, but we appreciate you joining us.
Darren, it's been a pleasure. Great to be on with you.